Mario.
Available. What's Mike's available?
Okay, how are you?
Good.
What's doing?
Not too much. Watching the Oscars.
That's a bunch of waste of time. I didn't even look at it.
Huh?
Waste of time.
Somebody from South Africa won something. I don't know what it was.
It must have been black. Must have won it.
No. No. Vice.
A Visa.
Mm-hmm.
Things become too political for my liking.
Yeah, there were a few political statements, but, you know.
I don't even know any of those movies. What movies were there? I don't.
The only one I know is Mank. I saw it. Pretty good.
What? What's it called?
Mank, M-A-N-K, which is a story about Mankiewicz, the writer, who was writing for Orson Welles for that movie, which was one of the greatest movies ever made. The story of Randall Hearst. What was the name? I can't remember. It's in black and white, but it's a very impressive movie.
Okay, good. What's going on otherwise? Everything okay?
Thank God, yes.
Good.
You were not this morning at the bris?
Yeah. I was incognito.
Oh, because I didn't see you. All right. Was very well filmed. You could see perfectly the Schnee.
You could see the schneid, huh?
The Schnitt.
Yeah. The Schneider did a good schnitt.
Yeah. I thought Ernie was going to perform the surgery, but no.
Mm-hmm.
Harold.
Hello, Harold. Harold's not talking, he's eating.
Yes.
Harold, you enjoying what you're eating? Can you share with us? Harold. Oh. Ernest. Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
You Dalit.
14.
So we said that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't allow the Kohen Gadol in Aninas to do the avoda because he might come to eat. But not Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Av Isha Acheres Maskirin Lo. We said that when we separate the Kohen Gadol, we give him another wife. Shema Tamus Ishto, right? Because of the problem that if his wife dies, he's not going to have a wife, and there's not going to be the Chiper Badavad Beis. However, V'imaisa Ishto, then he becomes an Oneg. And he's still allowed to Avid Avoda on Yom Kippur. Goes Rabbi Yehuda Shema Yoich. How come there, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't goizer that you can't do it because you might eat it? Now, obviously, on Yom Kippur, nobody eats, right? Nobody eats. There's no reason to make Xerah there because nobody's going to come to eat it. It's on Yom Kippur. But in a regular case, on a regular day, so he would be goizer. That's why he's goizer that they shouldn't do the avodah baninas. Afraid the Gemara. I thought the Chiyai Gavda Michaela Leaninas V'Hamigarsha. Remember, this morning we went through the whole sugya that he really gives her a divorce. So if she dies, it's not really, there's no aninus. But he's busy in the burial plans, and you need simcha gedola by Kachim, says Rashi. The way Malachim eat it. And even if he's not technically an oinain, he's not in the frame of mind to eat besimcha gedol. Mishnah. Kol shiva sayamim uzarik asadam. During those 7 days, he was put into training. He would shech the olas hatami, the daily tummy, and not shechted, but he would do the zrik of the dam, so that he's practiced, because he has to do that as well in Yom Kippur. Umakter saktoiris, and he sprinkles the ktoiris on the mizbech hazav in the heichal. Umetiv esanerois, he has to clean where the menorah was. You have to clean out the old ashes and the wicks. Baboiker behitivos anirois. And every day they were makter toiras, half in the morning, half in the afternoon. Umakir v'saroish v'saregel. Right? The olas hatomid is divided into multiple pieces. He would be makriv the head and the foot. And then the other Kohanim would do the rest. Ushar kol hayomim. Other days, not the 7 days that we're talking about before Yom Kippur, but other days. Imrat salakriv makriv. Kohen Gadol could do whatever he wanted. He could makriv any korban he wanted. Kohen Gadol makriv chelik barosh. He gets to choose what he wants to do. The noitel chelik barosh, he gets the whatever parts that he chose. Now, Montana, who is the author of this Mishnah, Amar of Chisda, the law of Rabbi Akiva. It's obviously not like Rabbi Akiva. Why? Rabbi Akiva, Ha'omar, Tor, Shanafal Lav Hazah. Remember, one of the things that they did to the Kohen Gadol in those 7 days, we said, is they sprinkled on him paraduma water with ashes every day. However, we know that there was a famous paradox of the paraduma. It's metaris hatmeim. That means when you sprinkle it on somebody who's tamei, it's metarim. But it had this concept where if you sprinkled it on somebody who's tahor, he becomes tamei. That's the paradox that even Shlomo, you'd think there'd be a kavachomer. That is, if you sprinkle it on somebody who's tamei, becomes tahor. So if I sprinkle on somebody who's tahor, certainly he should remain tahor. But that's not how it works. And that's what makes paraduma the biggest paradox. It's ununderstandable. Now, Rabbi Akiva is of that opinion. Tor shenafal avazot timaso. So if the Kohen Gadol is being sprinkled every day with paraduma water, so he's becoming metame every day. So hechi ovid avoda. How can he do all this avoda every day, like we've just described in the Mishnah? Must be our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva. So where do we see this machlokes to Tanya? The pasuk says v'hizah hatahor al hatomei. Now, why did it have to say that? Why couldn't it just say v'hizah hatahor alav? And the Torah person sprinkles on the guy who's tamei. It doesn't say alav. Tamei can say alav. So it's to teach me that if you sprinkle it ala tamei, the tamei person becomes tohor. But if you sprinkle it on a tohor, he becomes tamei. Did Rabbi Akiva. The chachamim amru ein advarim halalu amurim, ela b'dvarim hamakablim tumah. If you sprinkle paraduma on something that is tohor, and it has the ability to makabel tumah, then in a chanami it will become tamei. But not in every case. If you sprinkle something on something that is tor and it has no capability of being makabel tumah, then it does not become tamei. So we see a fundamental machlokas between Rabbanon and Rabbi Akiva regarding this issue. Mahi. Now, where does this come from? Kiritna. Niskavein lahazos ala behema. Now, a behema is a live animal. A live animal is not makabel tumah. So a person had kavanah to be mazan a behema. V'hiza ala adam, he ended up sprinkling it on a tamei like a human. Im yesh ba ezov. if there is water left in the, with the hyssop in a kli, if there's still some mayim left, since the kavana was not done properly, you should do it again on the human. However, niskavin lahazas ala adam bihiz ala behema, he had kavana to sprinkle on a human. Bihiz ala behema, he ended up sprinkling it on the behema. And yeshba ezov, he doesn't have lo yish. He doesn't have to repeat. Since in the first hazon, the first sprinkling, had kavana, a human being who's makabel tumah, so you don't have to do it again. It's considered a good hazon. My time, Rabbi Kiva. Why does Rabbi Kiva learn that if you sprinkle on a Torah, it becomes tameh? Because the Torah could have written bihizah tahor alav. Why does the Torah write bihizah tahor ala tameh? Shma mina ala tameh tahor. You sprinkle it on somebody who's tameh, he becomes Torah. But if you sprinkle it on somebody who's Torah, it becomes tameh. How do the Rabbanan darshan? They say that pasuk goes for Hailut Vram Kabel Tumah. Only a behemoth, for example, is not a Kabel Tumah. So if you sprinkle a Torah, sprinkles on a behemoth, it doesn't become Tumah. Freit the Gemara Valhacha, but this whole issue is a Kalvachoymerhu. Im ala Tomei Torah. If you sprinkle Mei Para on a Tomei person, it makes him Tohor. Hello?
Yes, you're okay.
Yeah. Then if my battery runs out, Susie, could I ask you a favor? Could you bring my computer down from my office? Thank you. I appreciate that. It means if you sprinkle paradum on a tomei, it becomes tor. Then certainly if you sprinkle it on a Torah, it should remain Torah. It's a Kavachomer. It's Aristotelian logic. So Rabbi Akiva, like if A equals B and B equals C, we know through basic logic that A equals C. In fact, 2 + 2 = 4. That's mathematic logic. 2 + 2 does not equal 5. But that's basically what we're saying here. We're saying something that doesn't follow the normal rules of logic. A Kal Vachomer is a righteous logistical proof that every logician uses. That means if you have something more lenient and it works, and if you do it on something more stringent, certainly it would work. So in fact, how does Rabbi Akiva? Hainu dekamer Shloima Amelech Omarti Achkama v'yirachoyka mimeni. Even though people say I'm smart, I'm the smartest human, it's this halacha is far away from me. I can't understand it because it goes against logic. I'm just opening up the other Zoom.
You can have both at the same time.
Okay, so let me sign out of here and I'll sign on in 1 second.
Okay.
So, v'Rabbanon hahu lamazev v'lamazin olav tohor. How did they understand? What did they think Shlomo Melech was referring to? Because we know that whatever Shlomo Melech said, it refers to the paraduma. So the Chachamim said what Shlomo Melech didn't understand, that the person who sprinkled the mechates or the person who got sprinkled on, they remain tohor. Aval hanogeh behen, but if you touch paraduma water without sprinkling, tomei. Umazeh tohor. So is it true that the person who sprinkles remains tor vaksiv? Umazeh me'anidaycha beis b'kadav. It says right. It says the person who sprinkles the paraduma has to wash his clothing. So the Gemara explains, "My mazeh Noige doesn't mean sprinkler. It means he touched it. When it says sprinkling. And v'haksiv nogea somebody else. There's another pasuk that says v'hanogea b'me'anida yitama da'arev. So there's psukim that talk about the mazeh and the nogea. So you can't learn taich. Mazeh means nogea. The old mazeh boy kibus begodim. The guy who sprinkles, he has to even wash his clothing, which implies that his tumah is even a tumah chamura. Nogea lo boy kibus begodim. Someone who just touches it does not require laundering his clothing. So the Gemara now has to change its tack, and mazeh cannot mean negia. Rather, elamai mazeh nose, he carried it. He had a kli with poraduma water and he carried it. That will convey tumah, but not mazeh. Freit the Gemara v'nichtu v'rachmona nose. My time eksiv mazeh. If the Torah means carrying, why did it write it in the language of mazeh? Oh, kamash malon to be in shir hazah. Because when you carry, it's not just stam hazah that you carry it. It's you carry paraduma water. If it's got shear of hazah, then it'll be metameyu. If not, it won't. So it's the shear for the carrying. But this concept of shear is only according to the opinion who says that this sprinkling of paraduma requires a certain shear. But there is a manda omar that says that even a mashu, that hazah doesn't require a shear. So, afilu manda hazah ein tzrich a shear, hani mili agaba de gavra, meaning the person who holds that hazah paraduma doesn't require shear, that's when you're sprinkling on a person. But everybody will agree, b'mona tzrich a shear. You got to start off in the kli of paraduma water with a certain shear. Then if you sprinkle even a mashu on somebody, it'll work. But you got to start off in the kli with a shear. It's not. How much fluid does there have to be in there in order for it to be considered shear hazah? That you need to have enough fluid in there that you can dip those hyssop leaves enough into the water, and then you can sprinkle v'yazeh. So this Gemara was learning the pshat that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva, who held that if you sprinkle on a tor dika koyin, he is metame. Rather, our Mishnah has to go according to Rabbanon, who held it was different than Rabbi Akiva. However, comes a Abaya Omar that afilu ten Rabbi Akiva, we could learn our Mishnah even according to Rabbi Akiva. The Ovid Avola Kula Yome, because every day of the 7 days he would do the avoda. Ulafanya Madu Alei. Then they sprinkled him, so he became Tomei, but they quickly put him in the mikveh, Tovil, so he's a Tvul Yom, and then V'avid Erev Shemesh, and the night comes and he's Tor again. So the next morning he's Tor, ready to go. That was the procedure. So you could explain it, says Abaya, even according to Rabbi Akiva. Then our Mishnah said that every day of the 7 days, Maktir Saktoiras, he burnt the incense, and Umeitiv Azaneris and cleaned the menorah. Comes out from our Mishnah, Ketoiras Bereisha V'Hadoneros, that in the order of the things that were done in the Beis HaMikdash, the Ketoiras was offered first, then they cleaned the Neros. V'Riminu, I'll ask you a kasha. Misha Zocha B'Dishon Mizbech HaPnimi. Remember, there were many lotteries among the Kohanim to decide who would do which work. So the Kohen who got the lottery to clean the inner Mizbeach would do it. Umisha Zacha b'Menorah. And then the one who got the lottery to clean the menorah. And then, Misha Zacha B'Torah, so you see the menorah went before the Ktoiras. Freit the Gemara. On Ravuna, Man Tana Tamid, who is the Tana that you are quoting from Masechta Tamid? It's Rav Shimon Isha Mitzpahu. It's Rav Shimon Isha Mitzpah and the Ibcha Shaminanle. In fact, we've heard the opposite Shita, Ditnan, that in the process of doing the Tamid, Bala Lakern Mizrachit Soinis, he's coming to sprinkle the dam on the corners of the Mizbeach. He starts northeast, then Nosein Mizrachat Safona. And he gives northeast. Then he goes to Maravis Droimis. He goes to southwest, Nosein Marava Droima. Vitani ala Rav Shimon Isha Mishana B'Tamid, that Rav Shimon did differently. He first would go to Mizrachit Sfoinis, northeast, Noisem Mizrachat Safoina, and he would give there. And then he would go to Maravis Droimis, southwest, Noisem Maravon, and give there. Va'achakach Noisem Droma. First he would give west, then east. Excuse me, he would give first west and then south. These are the putting the bloods on the corners of the Mizbech during the Olas HaTamid. And it shows us the direction that he's walking around the Mizbech. So we see that Masechta Tamid, you wanted to answer Masechta Tamid like Rav Shimon Isha Mitzpah, but we see he argues with the Mishnayos, and it's not according to him. Elo Rav Yochanan Man Tana Seder Yoima. So who is the Tana that gave us the specific order of the Olas HaTamid? Rav Shimon Isha Mitzpah. The Rami Seder Yoima Seder Yoima. Rather, I will show you a stira within Seder Yoma itself, Masechta Yoima, not Masechta Tamid. This not. Payis Hasheni, the second lottery. Mi shoichet, who did the shechita of the Talmud? Mi zarek, who sprinkles the blood? Mi mendashe mizbech, who goes and cleans the inner ashes of the mizbech azov? Umi medashe samnar, then who cleans the menorah? So you see, cleaning menorah went before Ketores. Umi male avarm lakeves, who now schleps the limbs up to the ramp. Then payis hashlishi, chadoshim lektoris boy vafisu. They would say, Kohanim who had never done Ketores before gather, because Ketores was a skula for Ashirus. Every Kohen wanted it. So, but what we see clearly in Seder Yoma is that first they cleaned the menorah, then they did the Ketores. Not like our Mishnah where they did the menorah, then the Ketores. Or Rabbi Loikasha, you know what? The menorah cleaning is divided into two aspects. First, they cleaned shtei neiros. First, there were 2 neiros cleaned, and they left the other 5. And later on, kan batovas chamesh neiros. Then they did 5. There was 2 and 5. And it seems like the Ketores was the fulcrum that first they did shtei neiros, then they offered the Ketores, then they did the chamesh neiros. So the Gemara says, Lemema de Ketores mafsiklu. Is that correct? That it's the avoid of Ketores that divides the 2 versus 5? Abaya had ordered the processing of the Olas HaTamid according to the Gemara. B'dama tamid mafsikluhu, and it's the zrikas hadam of the tamid that is the avoda that divides between the 2 neiros and the 5 neiros. So Amri, we answer loy kasha. Meaning, this order given by Abaya is different. One is in the name of Abba Shol, and one is the name of the Rabbanon. Ditanya. We learn a brayso. Lo yetiv zaneros v'achakach yaktir. You should not clean the neiros and then do the Ketores. Rather, ele yaktir v'achakach yetiv. First, you should do Ketores, then you clean the menorah. However, Abba Shaul Omer, Meiti v'achar kach maktir. So there's Machlokes Tanoim. What was done first, the Ketores or the menorah? My time at Abba Shaul. What's the svar of Abba Shaul? The Chsiv, Baboiker, Behetivo Saneros. The Hodar Yaktirena. Right? The Pasuk first talks about Hatovas Aneros. Then later on, the Pasuk talks about Ketores. So that's why Abba Shaul came up with Meiti v'achar kach maktir. V'Rabbanon, my kamer Rachmana. So how did the Rabbanon answer? So that we'll learn tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. That we'll learn tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.
Shkoyach.
So I will call in 4 minutes. We will start the Navi Shir.
Okay, Mazel Tov again,
Okay.
Ernie.
Thank you
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
very much.